Hey everyone, Justin with ProCourseStart. Today I want to talk about how much money does it take to actually create a successful enterprise level continuing education course business. I get asked this question quite a bit, and so I want to create a video to talk about, what should you expect to pay to get a continuing education business up and running. You're going to want to create an online continuing education business, okay? You're not going to want to create something that is actually like a workbook you mail out to people or something that's focused on conferences only, okay? You want to develop a course business that sells an evergreen course product. And by that, I mean it's a course product that sells 24/7. It's pre-recorded, okay? You can have webinars, you can have live person events and that sort of a thing. That's okay. You want those things because it builds up your revenue streams. But to start a true online continuing education business, it doesn't take that much to start these things, okay? That's the beautiful thing about starting a continuing education business. If you were a lawyer, a healthcare professional, a realtor, engineer, tech professional, if you wanted to start your own practice, clinic, agency, office, etc., it usually costs a lot of money to start that kind of business because you have to have employees, you have to have an office, you have to have supplies, those sorts of things. But with an online course business, an online continuing education business, you really don't need to spend that much to get it up and running. So I want to talk about how much do you need to start a continuing education business the right way. All right, so first, I'm going to assume that you're going to need the steps on actually how to do it, okay? If you're going to go into this blind without knowing what to do, I wish you luck. There's a right way and a wrong way to start a continuing education business. And if you do it the wrong way, you're going to waste a lot of money and time, all right? So I'm not trying to sell you on the ProCourseStart Blueprint. That's not what I'm trying to do. But you need to have a guide on how to do it, a step-by-step procedure on how to do it. If you Google enough of this, you can probably figure it out yourself. But if you want a step-by-step guide, check out the ProCourseStart Blueprint. It's going to cost you about $1,000, all right? It's 15 hours long, and it'll walk you through every single step on how to start a successful, robust continuing education business. So I'm going to assume you're going to spend that for your startup costs, okay? So let's just say $1,000 for the education on how to actually build this the right way. That's either going to be through me or through someone else or whatever, right? You buy some books, watch some videos, etc. So you're probably going to spend about $1,000 just to learn how to do this the right way. Then after that, you're probably going to want to spend anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 on building a really nice website. Now, you can build a website on your own. You can use GoDaddy or Squarespace or whatever and build it yourself. You can use Replit or Gamma. Those are both AI-powered services to build a website. So you could use AI to build the website for you very, very cheaply, but it's probably not going to be as robust and integrated as something a true web professional can build you. So let's just say you're going to spend between $1,000 and $3,000 building a website. It's either going to be on your own, using AI, or hiring a professional. Okay, so let's say we're at $3,000 or $4,000 right now in startup costs. That's pretty much it. You don't need to spend a whole lot more here. It's basically learning how to do it and building a really nice website. Those are going to be your two biggest costs. Then you'll want to create all your social media pages. You can do that for yourself for free. And then you'll want to sell up your LMS, your course hosting platform. Depending on what LMS you use will depend on the cost of it. You can use something really cheap like Teachable, for example, and that will only cost you a couple $100 to get going. If you use something a little bit more robust like Kajabi, I recommend Kajabi because it is just so integrative. It is so robust in nature. You can use it for basically anything. You can build your website on Kajabi, all right? If you pay for a full year, it's probably going to cost you about $1,000, okay? But it's well worth the cost in my opinion because Kajabi has everything you need. You can build your website through it. You can do all your email marketing through it, build your landing pages, your checkout, host your course. You can pretty much do everything in Kajabi itself, which is why I really, really like Kajabi. But you can use other cheaper services too, like Teachable, for example, or Thinkific, okay? Those are going to be cheaper LMS course hosting platforms. So we are now at $5,000, give or take, right? That's pretty much all you're going to need to spend. All the graphics, all the logos, all of those things that you need for your business, a few years ago, you would have had to pay a graphic designer to make those for you. You can use AI now to create all that stuff for you for free. I go over in the blueprint on what services you should use to do that, but a couple good options are, Canva, Ideogram, all right? You can just create graphics on your own. So you don't have to spend any kind of money there. It's just gonna basically be a time investment on your end, right? So for about $5,000, okay, you can have the course business up and running. There's gonna be other little expenses here and there, like, creating an LLC. I mean, that's a couple $100s. Maybe subscriptions for various services like Trustpilot if you want to host your reviews on there. So there's going to be other little tiny add-on expenses here and there that really shouldn't add up to more than really $1,000 total. In the blueprint, I go over every single thing you need. So I'm going to estimate between $5,000 and $6,000 is really all you need to get a course business up and running. And it's going to take you about 80 to 120 hours of your time to actually get this thing built out. That's building the website, that's writing content, that's developing the course itself. So the time investment is going to be 80 to 120 hours. The financial investment is going to be about $5,000 or $6,000. That's it. Tell me another business that you can start for $5,000 or $6,000 in about 80 hours of your time. There's very few, especially ones that generate the kind of income a course business can generate, all right? If you create your course business the right way, you develop a solid value proposition, you build an audience, you solve a real problem within your profession, you can make a lot of money. The elite nurse practitioner, within the first year, I was generating almost $100,000 a month. Okay. And I started that in 2019. It's 2025 now. So you can guess how much that business is making a month now. Okay. It's a multi-million-dollar business. And the initial investment was probably about $10,000 total. All right. And that's because I probably spent about $5,000 or $10,000 just marketing the business initially to help build an audience. So you need $5,000 or $6,000 to get the business actually started, 80 to 120 hours of your time. And then you're going to want to have probably a budget of $5,000 to market the business initially. Okay. You want to get the word out, basically. You need to promote your business, and you promote it through basically social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Okay. You need to spend some money on some ads to build that audience. You promote some content, you send people to your website, sign up for your email list, that sort of a thing. That's going to cost some money to build that audience. You could build an audience very cheaply and for free. You really, really can. You can go to various Facebook groups, and start providing value in other communities, and build an audience that way through community engagement marketing. I talk about that in the blueprint as well. So there are ways to build an audience for free, and you don't have to spend that much marketing. But if you want to accelerate your growth, then I would recommend $5,000 at least for your initial marketing budget that you would spend over a couple months after you get started, okay? If you don't want to spend money marketing, that's fine. I will say it'll probably take about 6 months for your business to really start kind of getting going. It'll take about 6 months to really probably even sell a couple courses if you do it that way, all right? So if you have $5,000 that you can spend on marketing, I would highly advise doing that because it'll take your business from here to here in a very short period of time. If you don't spend that money, you'll go from here to here over 6 months versus 2 months, all right? So grand total, if you want to do this the right way, you will need about $10,000 to start a continuing education business the right way. Minimum $5,000 or $6,000, maximum about $10,000, okay? So you can start this business very, very cheaply. So again, if you are interested in, building a passive income stream, consider starting a continuing education business. I mean, what do you have to lose, really? 80 to 120 hours of your time, $6,000? I mean, it's really not that much. Losing $6,000 isn't fun, of course, but that's really your biggest risk. If you start your own practice, your own agency, your own office, you're gonna spend a lot more money than that. So take a bet on yourself, budget $5,000 or $6,000, start a continuing education business. You would be surprised how well it can do. If you can actually solve a real problem within your profession, if you can utilize the knowledge and information you have in your head and create a solution to a problem that, people in your profession face, people will pay you money for that solution. So if you do it the correct way, you will make money, I promise you. If you put $5,000 or $6,000 in this business, you will make that $5,000 or $6,000 back probably in 2 or 3 months max, all right? And then after that, it just snowballs. What other kind of investment of $5,000 or $6,000 can turn into something that generates $50,000 to $100,000 a month? Those kind of investments don't exist outside of starting your own business, especially a continuing education business. With the elite nurse practitioner, I put $10,000 into it, give or take, and now it's a multi-million-dollar business. If I would have invested $10,000 in Bitcoin 5 years ago, I still probably wouldn't even got that same return. Okay. Or if I put $10,000 in Nvidia, 5 years ago, I probably still wouldn't have got that same return. So take a bet on yourself and invest in yourself. Start a continuing education business. Yeah. I mean, what do you have to lose? So check out ProCourseStart.com. I have lots of articles and videos just like this one to help you guys succeed. Check out the ProCourseStart Blueprint if you need a step-by-step guide. All right. Talk to you guys next time.